Welcome to Hope Comes to Visit. I'm Danielle Elliott Smith. This is a space for real stories and honest conversations, moments of reflection, resilience, and light. Whether you're going through something really hard or just need a soft place to land, my hope is that each episode, each conversation will meet you exactly where you are. Let's take a quick moment to thank the people that support and sponsor the podcast. When life takes an unexpected turn, you deserve someone who will stand beside you. St. Louis attorney Chris Dully offers experienced one-on-one legal defense. Call 314-384-4000 or 314-DUI-HELP, or you can visit dullylawfirm.com. That's DULLE lawfirm.com for a free consultation. I wanted to take a few minutes in this initial episode to tell you a little bit about me and what it is I hope you will find when you come visit with us, and hopefully Hope gets to visit with you a little bit. My background is in television media. I've been doing this off and on for the better part of the last 20 years, but my path has taken many different turns. I've worked in blogging. I've worked in traditional reporting and anchoring. I've been an author, and one of my most important titles has been as mom. I have 2 kids that are both at the moment in college, Delaney and Cooper, and they are everything to me. A handful of years ago, today is actually a significant day for me as this podcast launches. I am, as of this very moment, July 8th, 2025. If you're watching this at a later date, then you'll know that this date was significant the day that we began to share this podcast. I am 6 years sober. That is important to this story because it was 5 years ago that I first bought the domain name for this podcast, that I first decided that these were the stories I wanted to tell. Not about sobriety, not about recovery, but about hope. I had been struggling with alcohol for a few years. It became more intense. It initially started as a little bit of self-medicating, as many people do. I was drinking a little too much, more like I would go from just 2 glasses of wine to somebody pour me an extra glass. I've had a hard day. I would like to relax. Somebody pour me an extra glass of wine. But the more my family started to notice, the more I recognized that it was becoming problematic, which meant not so much that I was stopping, but I was denying that it was a problem for me, and I was starting to hide how much I was drinking. For those of you who don't realize or who have never struggled with alcohol in any capacity, once you start hiding alcohol, you start drinking more of it. 6 years ago, to this day, I checked myself into treatment. The day I decided I needed to go to treatment, there was a text between my kids that said, "Too bad mom loves wine more than she loves us." While I can assure you it wasn't true at that time, and for anyone who has struggled with alcohol or any addiction, the addiction is never more important than the people you love, but it certainly seems that way when you are at least appearing to be choosing that thing over everyone else. I realized that it wasn't so much that I was lying to everyone else, but I was lying to myself, because this was a problem for me. I was self-medicating. I was self-medicating through trauma. I was self-medicating through trying to hold together a life that I hoped would be perfect, but wasn't turning out to be that way. Fortunately, the relationship I have with my kids is now divine. Not perfect, but they understand who I am and the path that I've taken and the work I have put in to my sobriety. In those initial months of sobriety, I went to Florida for treatment. I would go back down to Florida for each of my initial milestones. For 3 months, for 6 months, for 9 months. On one of those visits, I was talking to a gentleman there and he said, Danielle, you have no idea what a big deal it is that you come back so that people can see that you're doing it, that it can work, that you can succeed in sobriety. Every time you come back, it's like hope comes to visit. And in that very moment, I knew that was the name of this podcast. For years and years and years, I'd wanted to do a podcast. I had gone from working in traditional media to being an OG mom blogger, not the top of the popular food chain, but I was in the group. And I was working in television. Brands would hire us to be spokespeople, and I had been doing a fair amount of TV work, YouTube work. But then my drinking took over. When I got out of treatment, I decided that I needed to move in a different direction, despite the fact that so much of my love was storytelling and interviewing and having conversations like this. One of the things I'd always wanted to do in those old blogging and media days was podcasting, back when women weren't even really doing them. But the problem was I didn't want a niche. I didn't want to choose just one particular topic. I didn't want to only talk about family or food or politics. I wanted to be able to talk about anything. With Hope Comes to Visit, I can do all of the things I've always wanted to do. I can talk about anything at any time. I can interview people. I can talk about what is good, what has turned out good. And I can talk to people about their stories, how they have triumphed, how they have succeeded, what makes them tick, how they have managed to work through things that have been hard or difficult or traumatic even. Stories that we will have on this podcast. The focus will be hope. I truly believe that everyone has a story of hope in them that can inspire someone else. You might hear about recovery. You might hear about grief. You might hear about someone who is the first person in their family to go to college or to experience another remarkable milestone. I am looking to talk to people who are finding a way through experiences that might have defined them, but instead have allowed them to shape their life experience. I hope that in every episode, there is a nugget of good or love or positivity or resilience that you hear, and it makes your day just a little bit better. I'm excited about the people I'm interviewing. I'm excited about these heart-centered interviews. Men, women, young, old, anyone and everyone who might have a story that can inspire you or me to laugh or cry or be motivated or to take action or to do the next right thing. 2 years ago, when I was in the process of just starting to push this podcast forward, I was in a relationship with someone I had been dating for the better part of 5 years. Someone I loved very much. His name was Marty, also in recovery with me. I was out of the country in Greece with both of my kids and my ex-husband. My ex-husband and I are very good friends. And this was a trip we decided to take together so we would both have the opportunity to experience this with our children. And while I was gone, I received a phone call that Marty was in the hospital and he was not okay. I flew home and I stayed in the hospital with Marty for 17 days. He did not regain consciousness. And at the end of that 17 days, we said goodbye to him. And I have never in my life experienced that level of grief. Or quite honestly, hopelessness. I found myself adrift in a world and space completely without light. I had never experienced significant grief or loss before, and I didn't know what to do. It was the first time in my life that I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. No matter how bad things had been in my life at any given time, no matter how devastated I had felt by a job loss or the loss of a relationship or fill in the blank, I had never felt this abject emptiness. As an empath, I struggled to have people around me because I didn't want anyone to be sad about my sadness. There was an entire community of people, my recovery community, who I felt incredibly abandoned by. My grief turned out to be too heavy for them. My online community and a core group of in-person friends turned out to be the light and presence and life-saving grace I needed. Every Facebook message, every text, every tweet, every phone call was a lifeline. There were moments that I thought I might be done, that I wasn't potentially meant to go on. And I know that I have friends who could see that and sense it and feel it. And I'm incredibly grateful for the grace they gave me in allowing me to work through my grief. A significant piece of that work was seeing a grief counselor and keeping regular appointments with a therapist I already had, who knew my relationship with Marty very well. I started to do the work immediately and made sure that I surrounded myself with people who were willing to show up for me. I allowed myself to feel. I gave myself the grace to allow my grief to unfold exactly as it needed to. I am 100% sure that the people in my life who checked on me with the 2:00 in the morning messages, who sent a card in the mail, who just wanted me to know that they were there that I mattered, that I was loved. They have a hand in saving my life. At the time that Marty died, I was just preparing to dig in on this podcast. And suddenly found myself thinking, what a joke. I'm going to do a podcast on hope. Me, the girl who has none. I have since realized that yes, the girl who had none needs to be the one doing the podcast. It's that experience, having none and finding it again, that allows me to be in this place, to have these conversations. Before experiencing true hopelessness, I wasn't equipped to have these conversations. I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. I didn't deserve to sit down and talk to people about hope without the full balance of being hopeful and having been completely without it. I don't believe everything happens for a reason. I don't live always trying to find the silver lining. I do believe it's my job to figure out what to do with the life that's given to me. I frequently tell people in recovery that those of us who have had to fight for our lives the way we do, to have to develop the self-awareness and the desire to live, the desire to fight for sobriety, that I wish we were exempt from all of the many inconveniences of life, flat tires and job losses and all the things that annoy us and upset us and frustrate us and disappoint us. But it doesn't happen that way. Life still happens to all of us. We have to find a way to deal with it. And so many of the guests you'll end up hearing from will share some of their hope and their wisdom and the ways that they work through the everyday and the tragic and the beautifully broken. I'd rather sit in a room full of people who are beautifully broken any day, because we have to fight, and because we're more patient, and because we develop self-awareness and a great love for humanity and compassion and empathy. And my job sitting in the seat is not to come barging in and turn on all the lights and fix all the problems and say, here is hope. It's to bring people into the room who can sit next to you and help you to feel less alone, and to make sure you know that this is a space for you. I will do everything I can to hold space for every version of hope and every version of story and energy and love that we possibly can. I'm grateful to each and every one of you who takes time to let hope come to visit. To each and every one of you who takes the time to say, you know who needs to hear this story? And shares it with someone you love. Because that is not only a gift to that person, but it's potentially a gift passing it on to someone else as well. I hope you'll find a way to come back and check in with us every now and then, if not every week. We will have new episodes on Mondays and Fridays every week, because I think it's important for you to start and end your week with hope. And I hope in between, you'll think about who you might send my way. If you think there is someone we definitely need to talk to, and I hope you'll take care of yourself. Thank you so very much for being here, and I'm grateful for you. Naturally, it's important to thank the people who support and sponsor the podcast. This episode is supported by Chris Dully, a trusted criminal defense attorney and friend of mine here in St. Louis, who believes in second chances and solid representation. Whether you're facing a DWI, felony, or traffic issue, Chris handles your case personally, with clarity, compassion, and over 15 years of experience. When things feel uncertain, it helps to have someone steady in your corner. Call 314-384-4000 or 314-DUI-HELP, or you can visit dullylawfirm.com to schedule your free consultation.